There comes a moment in every woman's life when she stops waiting for permission, for validation, for the world to notice her worth. That's the moment she truly rises. Not because the world changed, but because she did. A self-made woman isn't born with privilege. She's built with persistence. She's shaped not by what life gave her, but by what she gave life. Courage, consistency, and conviction. The rise of a self-made woman is not about money, fame, or recognition. It's about reclaiming her voice in a world that often told her to be quiet. It's about turning her pain into power, her fear into focus, and her struggles into stories that inspire others. She learns that being strong doesn't mean she never cries. It means she keeps moving forward, even with tears in her eyes. A self-made woman doesn't compete, she creates. She doesn't seek approval, she seeks purpose. She's not driven by ego, but by evolution, the desire to become better than who she was yesterday. She understands that growth doesn't come from comfort, and comfort never builds greatness. She rises not to prove the world wrong, but to prove herself right. Her success is not loud, it's silent, graceful, and steady. She knows her worth so deeply that no rejection can shake her confidence, and no praise can inflate her pride. Because she doesn't rise for the world, she rises above it. And when she finally stands tall, she doesn't forget where she started. She reaches back to lift others, to guide those still finding their path. Because she knows real success is not about standing alone at the top, but about bringing others along the climb. The rise of a self-made woman is not a single moment of triumph. It's a lifetime of choices. To stay kind in cruelty, to stay strong in struggle, to stay humble in success. That's her magic. That's her legacy. True rise comes from within. A woman's greatest transformation begins not when the world finally sees her value, but when she herself does. It happens quietly, not in the spotlight, not in applause, but in those long nights when she questions everything about her journey and still chooses to keep going. The rise of a self-made woman doesn't start with success, it starts with self-awareness. She begins to see that the most powerful approval she could ever receive is her own. The day she stops asking, "Am I enough?" and starts declaring, "Fee, I am enough," everything changes. In a world that constantly measures her by beauty, status, or relationships, she learns to redefine success on her own terms. It's no longer about fitting in or following the script written for her. It's about creating her own version of fulfillment, one that honors her values, her voice, and her vision. This inner rise is invisible to most, yet it is the foundation of everything that follows. Because until she believes in herself, nothing else truly works. She could have all the opportunities in the world, but without self-belief, she would still feel small. But once she builds that inner confidence, even the smallest step becomes powerful. Her rise begins in silence, in the quiet decision to no longer shrink for anyone's comfort. She stops explaining herself to those who never tried to understand her. She stops apologizing for being ambitious, emotional, or opinionated. She learns that her emotions are not weakness, they are depth. Her sensitivity is not fragility. It is strength that feels deeply and still dares to try again. She starts to understand that her worth was never meant to be negotiated or discounted. It was meant to be known. True rise isn't loud, it's subtle. It's in the small acts of courage she repeats daily. Setting boundaries, walking away from toxic situations, standing up for what she believes in, and forgiving herself for the times she didn't. Every time she chooses peace over approval, every time she listens to her intuition instead of noise, she rises. The climb may not be visible to others, but inside she is becoming stronger, wiser, and freer. When a woman's strength comes from within, no one can take it away. The world may test her, criticize her, or try to define her, but she remains unshaken. Because now she knows her value doesn't depend on anyone's recognition. It comes from a place so rooted in self-acceptance that even storms cannot move her. She walks differently, not with arrogance, but with quiet assurance. She speaks differently, not to prove, but to express truth. The rise from within is not an event, it's a process. It takes patience, pain, and persistence in thee. It's about unlearning everything that told her she was less and remembering that she has always been more. She no longer chases validation, she creates meaning. She no longer fears being misunderstood, she embraces being authentic. Her power is no longer borrowed, it's her own. And that's the essence of a self-made woman's rise. It's not the applause at the end, it's the courage to start, the faith to continue, and the wisdom to know that everything she needs was already inside her all along. Pain becomes power. Every woman who has risen to greatness has known pain more deeply than most people can imagine. But what makes her extraordinary is not that she suffered, it's what she did with that suffering. Pain can either break you or build you, and she chose the latter. She didn't let her wounds define her, she let them refine her. She turned every scar into a lesson, every heartbreak into wisdom, and every disappointment into direction. There were days when she questioned her strength, when life felt unfair, and when the world's silence screamed louder than her effort. Yet she didn't let bitterness take root. Instead, she allowed the pain to awaken her potential. It's often in the deepest darkness that a woman finds her brightest light. Not because the darkness disappears, but because she learns to shine despite it. The woman who has been through storms walks differently. She carries peace that comes only after surviving chaos. She no longer seeks to avoid pain, for she has realized that pain has been her greatest teacher. Pain taught her resilience, the kind that doesn't just help her survive, but helps her evolve. When people doubted her, when doors closed, when her plans fell apart, she learned to build her own path. The strength she carries today isn't something she read in a book. It's something she earned. one sleepless night at a time. It's easy to admire her now, but few know what it took. The tears she never showed, the courage she borrowed from faith when fear took over, and the hope she clung to when everything seemed lost. Every challenge she faced shaped her into someone more patient, more grounded, more wise. The pain that once made her cry now makes her calm. The rejection that once broke her now makes her fearless. Because pain, when embraced, transforms into understanding of who she is, what she deserves, and what truly matters. She learns that not all battles are meant to be fought. Some are meant to be felt, accepted, and learned from. A self-made woman doesn't hide her past. She honors it. She looks back not with regret, but with gratitude for every hardship that made her tougher and every failure that pushed her toward growth. She knows that without those experiences, she would never have discovered her depth. Pain stripped away her illusions, but it also revealed her truth. It humbled her, molded her, and taught her compassion for others walking through their own struggles. The power she carries now isn't loud or intimidating. It's quiet, steady, and rooted in wisdom. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to prove anything because it was born from real struggle. She has learned to smile again, not because life got easier, but because she became stronger. Her laughter carries courage, her silence carries clarity, and her presence carries peace. Pain didn't destroy her, it awakened her. It showed her what she's made of. It reminded her that every ending hides a new beginning, and every heartbreak holds the seed of transformation. She no longer fears life's challenges because she knows every time she falls, she'll rise higher. And that rise, born out of pain, becomes her most powerful story. She builds, not inherits. A self-made woman doesn't start with everything. She starts with a vision, a dream, and an unshakable belief that she can create something meaningful from nothing. Her journey is not a gift wrapped in privilege. It's a road paved with effort, late nights, and sacrifices no one sees. She doesn't wait for opportunities to arrive. She builds them with her own hands. Where others see limitations, she sees blueprints. Where others stop, she begins. Her strength lies not in what she's been given, but in what she's chosen to create. The world often admires her success, but overlooks her struggle. They see the outcome, not the process. They don't see the mornings she woke before dawn to work on her dreams, the rejections she faced silently, or the countless times she had to start over. Every part of her success carries a story of endurance. She didn't inherit a throne. She built her foundation from the dust of her own persistence. Every mistake became a lesson. Every failure a step closer to wisdom. She learned not to complain about what she lacked, but to make the most of what she had. A self-made woman understands that true power doesn't come from status. It comes from skill. She invests in herself, her growth, her mindset, her craft. She builds discipline like a muscle, learning to show up even when motivation fades. She knows that nothing lasting is built overnight. So, she plants seeds every single day. Some grow quickly. Others take years, but she never stops nurturing them. While the world is busy seeking shortcuts, she's mastering patience because she knows what's built slowly endures deeply. She builds character before success. When no one believed in her, she still believed in her own effort. When people doubted her path, she walked it anyway. Her foundation wasn't handed down. It was formed through consistency and conviction. Every time she faced a closed door, she didn't walk away. She built a new one. She learned that no dream is too big for a determined spirit, and no obstacle too great for a resilient heart. The beauty of her journey lies in its authenticity. She earned every piece of it. Her story is not about having it all. It's about creating it all from scratch. She didn't wait for the perfect conditions. She began exactly where she was, with what she had. She learned to manage failure gracefully and success humbly. Each challenge tested her, shaped her and demanded growth. And she rose every time. What others might call struggle, she calls shaping. Because she knows that diamonds are born only under pressure. Her success is not borrowed. It's built on self-trust. She stands firm because she knows she built her life brick by brick, through choices, risks, and perseverance. Every milestone she reaches is not luck, it's legacy. It's proof that greatness doesn't come from inheritance, it comes from intention. And so, the self-made woman continues to build, not just businesses or careers, but herself. She builds strength out of struggle, faith out of failure, and beauty out of endurance. Her empire isn't made of wealth or fame. It's made of resilience, courage, and self-respect. She didn't inherit her place. She earned it. And that makes her rise not only remarkable, but unforgettable. Purpose over approval. This is the turning point in every self-made woman's journey. For so long, she may have lived for the eyes of others, to be liked, accepted, or understood. She used to measure her worth through validation, believing that applause meant success and silence meant failure. But with time, life taught her that chasing approval is a never-ending race with no finish line. She realized that the world's opinions are temporary, but her purpose is eternal. That was the moment she stopped performing and started living. When she began to focus on purpose, everything changed. Her decisions no longer revolved around impressing people. They revolved around impacting lives. She no longer sought to be seen. She sought to be significant. There is a peace that comes from living aligned with one's purpose. A peace that no praise can give and no criticism can take away. She learned that purpose doesn't require permission. It's not something you're given. It's something you uncover deep within your soul. It's the quiet, knowing that you are doing what you're meant to do, even if no one claps for you. In the past, every negative comment might have shaken her confidence. Every rejection might have made her question herself. But now, She understands that external approval is unstable. It can change with trends, moods, or people's insecurities. Purpose, however, is constant. It becomes the compass that guides her through uncertainty. She no longer asks, "Will they like me?" Instead, she asks, "Is this right for me?" That shift from pleasing to purpose transforms her entire life. She becomes driven by meaning, not recognition. She finds joy in the process, not just the result. Her sense of fulfillment no longer depends on social validation. It comes from knowing she is living with intention. Even when no one notices her effort, she continues because she knows her purpose is bigger than her pride. She doesn't need to be seen to make a difference. She only needs to stay true to what she believes in. Living with purpose gives her strength during setbacks. When others give up because no one is watching, she keeps going because she's not doing it for attention. She's doing it out of conviction. Her energy becomes focused, her direction clear. She doesn't chase trends. She creates meaning. She doesn't compete with others. She connects with her calling. And when success finally arrives, it feels different, calmer, deeper, more satisfying. Because it's not built on the shaky foundation of approval, but on the solid ground of authenticity. She knows that people's opinions are temporary, but the impact of a purposeful life lasts far beyond applause. So, she continues to live with intention. Every action, every choice, every word she speaks carries meaning. She works not to impress, but to inspire. She loves not to be loved back, but because love itself is her nature. She gives not for recognition, but because giving fulfills her soul. This is her quiet revolution, shifting from approval to purpose. It's the most freeing transformation of all, because once she stops seeking to please everyone, she finally becomes who she was always meant to be. And that, more than anything else, is the true mark of a self-made woman. Strength in softness, a truth that many misunderstand. The world often confuses gentleness with weakness, silence with submission, and kindness with fragility. But a self-made woman knows better. She understands that real strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. It's not in how loud she speaks, but in how calmly she stands when everything around her is shaking. Her softness is not a flaw to fix. It's her quiet superpower, a reflection of grace shaped by resilience. She has learned that being soft in a hard world requires immense courage. It's easy to become bitter after betrayal, to harden after heartbreak, to lose faith after failure. But she chooses another way. She chooses to remain kind, not because life has been easy, but because she refuses to let pain change the purity of her heart. Her strength is not about being unbreakable. It's about being able to break, heal, and still love again. That is the kind of power the world rarely recognizes, but deeply needs. She knows that softness doesn't mean surrender. It means responding with understanding when others react with anger. It means holding compassion when the world teaches cruelty. It means knowing she could destroy with words, but instead chooses silence or empathy. This kind of restraint is not weakness, it's wisdom. It takes far more power to stay kind in chaos than to lash out in revenge. Her calmness is not the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. A self-made woman's strength lies in her emotional intelligence, her ability to remain grounded even when life tests her patience. She listens more than she argues, forgives more than she resents and understands that peace is her greatest victory. She doesn't need to fight every battle. She knows which ones are worth her energy. This quiet discernment is born from experience, from learning that reacting to everything means giving away her power. Her softness is not weakness, it's confidence. Only those who are truly secure can stay gentle in a world that values aggression. Her calmness commands respect. Her kindness disarms ego. Her empathy inspires change. She is living proof that a soft heart and a strong spirit can coexist beautifully. She knows she doesn't have to become hard to survive. She just has to become wiser, more centered, more intentional. Through her softness, she heals others too. Her words comfort, her presence reassures, her actions restore hope. People feel safe around her not because she's loud, but because she's genuine. She doesn't lead by dominance, she leads by example. Her strength flows quietly, through patience, through love, through her ability to forgive without forgetting the lesson. The world may not always celebrate this kind of strength, but it's the one that endures. Because physical strength fades, titles vanish, and power shifts, but inner gentleness remains timeless. It's what keeps her human in an often inhumane world. It's what helps her rise gracefully, not angrily. She has mastered the balance. To be firm without being cruel. To be kind without being naive. To be strong without losing tenderness. Her softness is not her weakness. It is her armor, her language, her truth. It's what makes her stand out, not as someone untouchable, but as someone unforgettable. Growth beyond comfort. The essence of every self-made woman's evolution. She understands that no one grows in the warmth of ease. Comfort may feel safe, but it rarely transforms. Real growth begins where comfort ends, in those uncertain, uncomfortable, and challenging moments when she's pushed to her limits. A self-made woman learns to embrace discomfort not as punishment, but as preparation. Every difficulty, every detour, every delay is shaping her into the woman she's meant to become. There was a time when she feared change, when the unknown seemed too risky. But over time, she realized that staying where she doesn't belong is far more dangerous than walking into uncertainty. So she steps forward, even trembling, knowing that progress is never painless. She stops asking for an easier life and starts praying for stronger shoulders. She doesn't wait for things to get simpler. She becomes more capable. Each test she faces builds her resilience. Each obstacle teaches her adaptability. Growth demands letting go of comfort zones, of old identities, of relationships that no longer align with her spirit. And that's never easy. Sometimes growth feels like loss because it requires her to outgrow the familiar. But she accepts this pain as part of her evolution, like a seed that must break open to bloom. She too must crack through layers of doubt, fear, and limitation to discover her true potential. She learns that the caterpillar doesn't become the butterfly without struggle, and neither will she without surrender. When life pushes her into uncomfortable spaces, she doesn't resist, she reflects. She asks herself, what is this trying to teach me? Because she knows every trial carries a lesson in disguise. Growth teaches her patience, the understanding that transformation takes time. It teaches her humility, the reminder that she doesn't know everything. And it teaches her courage, the realization that she can start over as many times as she needs to. The beauty of her journey lies in how she adapts. She doesn't complain about the storm. She learns to dance in the rain. She doesn't curse the fire. She uses it to forge her strength. She knows that discomfort is not her enemy. Stagnation is. So she keeps challenging herself to speak when she used to stay silent, to stand tall when she used to shrink, to say no when she used to please. These moments of discomfort become milestones of growth. Every time she chooses to grow, she sheds a layer of who she was to become closer to who she's meant to be. She realizes that growth is not about perfection. It's about progression. It's about becoming more aware, more authentic, and more aligned with her purpose. And though the process is uncomfortable, the result is liberating. In her heart, she carries a quiet knowing that comfort never built the woman she's proud to be. Struggle did. Change did. Courage did. She no longer seeks the easy road because she knows the rough paths lead to the most beautiful destinations. Her strength, her wisdom, her grace, they were all born from moments of discomfort that demanded growth. And that's what makes her rise not just powerful, but profound, silent confidence. It's not the kind that demands attention. It's the kind that commands respect. A self-made woman doesn't need to announce her power because she is her power. It's written in the way she walks, speaks, and carries herself. Her confidence doesn't come from applause, titles, or validation. It comes from the battles she's fought quietly and the victories she's earned privately. She has no need to prove herself anymore because she knows who she is, and that truth speaks louder than any words ever could. There was a time when she tried to explain her dreams, to justify her worth, to make others understand her vision. But experience taught her that true confidence doesn't need permission or explanation. The right people will recognize her value without her having to shout it. And those who don't, they're simply not her audience. So she stopped wasting energy convincing others and started investing it into becoming her best self. That's where silent confidence begins. When your focus shifts from being seen to being certain. Her silence is not emptiness, it's power under control. She knows when to speak and when to listen. when to step forward and when to step back. There's a grace in her restraint, a calmness that unsettles those who mistake stillness for weakness. But what they don't see is that it takes immense strength to stay composed in a world that glorifies noise. She's mastered the art of inner peace, and that peace radiates more authority than any loud declaration ever could. This kind of confidence comes from knowing her journey, from remembering where she started, what she's overcome and who she's become. She doesn't need external affirmation because she's already validated by her growth. She's built her self-worth through experience, not opinions. Her calm demeanor comes from trusting her process. Even when life tests her, she doesn't panic, she pauses. Because she's learned that reacting quickly is easy, but responding wisely is power. Silent confidence is the strength to smile when others expect you to break. It's the courage to walk away from what doesn't serve your peace, even when it means standing alone. It's this assurance that your value doesn't decrease just because someone else can't see it. This confidence is not loud because it doesn't need to be. It's grounded in self-respect, not arrogance. She doesn't compete with anyone. She's too busy cultivating her own growth. People often wonder where her confidence comes from, but it's simple. It comes from surviving. It comes from the nights she held herself together when no one else did. From the moments she kept faith when everything seemed to fall apart. From the times she chose peace over approval and purpose over pride. Every experience, every trial, every comeback has built a fortress of quiet strength within her. Now she no longer seeks to impress, she inspires. Her confidence is felt, not heard. It's in her steady tone, her thoughtful actions, and her unwavering sense of direction. Even her silence speaks. It says, I know my worth. I trust my journey. I don't chase, I attract. She walks into every room, not to be noticed, but to make a difference. That's what silent confidence looks like. Unshakable, elegant, and profoundly powerful. Faith over fear, that's the heartbeat of every self-made woman's journey. She has faced enough uncertainty to know that fear will always try to whisper in her ear, what if you fail? What if you're not enough? What if it all falls apart? But she's learned to respond with faith. What if I fly? What if I'm ready? What if this is exactly what I was meant for? Her strength doesn't come from never feeling fear. It comes from walking forward despite it. Because fear limits, but faith liberates. And she's chosen to be free. There was a time when fear ruled her choices. It made her hesitate, overthink, and play small. She feared judgment, rejection, and failure. But as she grew, she realized something powerful. Fear is loud, but it's also a liar. It exaggerates the danger and hides the possibility. She understood that most of what she was afraid of existed only in her mind. So, she made a decision to stop feeding her fears and start feeding her faith. From that moment, her entire path shifted. Faith, for her, is not just a belief, it's a practice. It's waking up each morning with the courage to try again, even when nothing seems certain. It's trusting the process when the outcome is still invisible. It's knowing that every setback has a purpose and that every delay hides divine timing. Faith reminds her that everything she's meant for will find her when she's ready, not when she's desperate. So she learns to surrender control, to stop forcing and start flowing. Choosing faith over fear doesn't mean she's fearless. It means she feels the fear, acknowledges it, but moves anyway. She understands that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else matters more. Her dreams matter more. Her peace matters more. Her growth matters more. And so, even when her hands tremble, she takes the next step. Every act of bravery, no matter how small, strengthens her faith muscle. Life tests her constantly. Things don't always go her way, plans fail, people leave. But her faith keeps her grounded. When fear says, "You can't," faith answers, "Watch me." When fear says, "You'll fall," faith says, "Then I'll rise again." Her belief in something bigger than herself, whether it's destiny, divine energy, or simply the purpose in her heart, gives her unshakable strength. She no longer needs to see the whole staircase to take the first step. Faith also teaches her patience. She learns that not everything happens when she wants it to, but everything happens when it's meant to. Fear rushes, faith waits. Fear doubts, faith trusts. Fear limits her to what's safe. Faith invites her to what's possible. She stops trying to control outcomes and instead focuses on controlling her attitude. That shift changes everything. And as she continues walking by faith, she begins to see how everything that once scared her was actually shaping her. Every fear she faced built her courage. Every fall she survived strengthened her resilience. Now, fear no longer dictates her path. It only reminds her of how far she's come. Her story becomes living proof that when a woman chooses faith over fear, she doesn't just survive, she rises, glows, and transforms into the most unstoppable version of herself.